just look at this absolutely gorgeous lacy stitch. It looks like it is made of small motifs connected together, but in reality it is one piece. It is crocheted continuously, and there are so many projects that can be crocheted using this stitch. And those of you who follow my channel regularly already know that I'm using this same stitch in my lacy dress. Before I start the tutorial, I want to mention that the skill level for this stitch is advanced. I have a written pattern for this stitch. It's available in my pattern shops and this video tutorial. In the written pattern, as well as in this tutorial, I refer to each one of these elements as motifs, even though they are not technically motifs. And also, to each one of these smaller elements, I refer as petals. If you have been watching my channel regularly, you probably have noticed that recently my crochet projects became more creative and more complex. And I really want to continue working in that direction. I really want to continue sharing with my viewers and teaching my viewers advanced levels of crochet. As I already mentioned, these videos take a lot of time and effort, and if you value my crochet work, please consider supporting me by either purchasing a pattern from me or by making a small donation through my ko-fi.com page. I will put the links in the description box below the video. Thank you so much. The yarn that I'm using is YarnArt Begonia and a hook size D, 3.25 millimeters. I start with 8 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now into the 4th chain from the hook, I make a slip stitch. We never count the chain on the hook, we always start counting from the next chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Over here I make a slip stitch. So what I have now is a very small ring formed over here, and I still have these chains unworked. What I do next is I make a slip stitch into each one of the next 2 chains. 1 and 2. I turn my work this way so that the unworked chains that I have over here are to the right. And now I will continue crocheting this way. I will be crocheting into the ring. These 2 chains where I made the slip stitches will count as my first double crochet worked into the ring. What I do next is 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and into the ring I work a double crochet. So I have a double crochet over here, then 5 chains and a double crochet. But this was not a real double crochet. This was only 2 slip stitches worked into the chains, but I'm going to count them as the first double crochet. Next 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and into the ring again I make a double crochet. 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and into the ring a double crochet. This is what it looks like right now. Next I make only 2 chains. 1, 2. I have 2 unworked chains over here, and into the last one I make a slip stitch. So this way the hook and the yarn end up in the middle of this loop. And now I have the first round of the first motif finished. The short yarn tail is gonna go over here, and I will crochet over it so it gets hidden. Here is how I start the second round of the first motif. First one chain, and then into this same chain space I work a single crochet. Next I will be working into the next chain 5 space, creating a petal, and here is how I do it. I work 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next I work 3 trebles. 1, 2, and 3. So this is the first petal of the first motif. What I do next is 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And into this same chain 5 space I make a slip stitch. Now this first petal is complete. Now I'm going to work the second one, and I work it the same way. Into the next chain 5 space I work 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then 3 trebles. 1, 2, and 3. 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a slip stitch into the same chain 5 space. Again, the next petal I work the same. 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 3 trebles. 1, 2, and 3. Now I have 3 petals in the first motif, and I'm going to leave it unfinished for now because now I'm gonna start working on the next motif. I work 14 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and into the fourth chain from the hook I make a slip stitch. Now I have a small ring formed over here. I make a slip stitch into each one of the next 2 chains. 1 and 2. I'm going to turn my work this way so that the unfinished motif goes to the right, and this tutorial is for the right-handed crocheters. For the left-handed crocheters everything will be the opposite. And now I will continue crocheting into the ring going this way. I make 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and into the ring I work a double crochet. Again 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and into the ring I work a double crochet. 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and into the ring a double crochet. Now 3 chains, 1, 2, 3, and I will make a slip stitch into the second chain of all of these unworked chains. So 1, 2, over here into this chain I make a slip stitch. So that's the first round of the second motif. I turn my work so that the unfinished motif, the first one, is to the right, and now I will continue crocheting this way, working the second round of the second motif. I start with 1 chain, and into this same chain space I work a single crochet. Into the next chain 5 space I work 4 double crochets and 3 trebles. And now 3 trebles. 1, 2, 3. Before I continue making the petals of the second motif, I need to join it to the first one. And here is how I do it. First, make sure that the chain over here is not twisted like this. Make sure it's nice and straight. And then I will be joining to this middle petal of the first motif. Over here I have chain 5 and then I have trebles. So I will join to that first treble. Here is how I do it. I remove the hook from the loop and I insert the hook under the 2 loops of the first treble, and then I pull the loop through. So now 2 petals are joined. 5 chains, and into this same chain 5 space I make a slip stitch. So now the first petal over here is finished and it is joined to the second or the middle petal of the first motif. Now the next petal is gonna be worked as before. 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then 3 trebles. 1, 2, and 3. 5 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a slip stitch into the same chain 5 space. And again the next petal, 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and now 3 trebles. 1, 2, 3. Here is what I have so far, and again I'm leaving this second motif unfinished, and I'm gonna start working on the next motif. 14 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. A slip stitch into the first chain from the hook, a slip stitch into each one of the next 2 chains, turn my work, 5 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a double crochet into the ring, 5 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a double crochet into the ring, five chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a double crochet into the ring, 3 chains, 1, 2, 3, and a slip stitch to the second chain, 1, 2, over here. Turn my work so that the unfinished motifs go to the right. Make sure the chain is not twisted over here. Chain 1, single crochet. Next petal, 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now 3 trebles, 1, 2, 3, and join to the previous motif. Five chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a slip stitch, and the next petal the same as worked before. And that's basically how I'm going to continue crocheting until I have the amount of unfinished motifs that I need for my project. For the purpose of my tutorial, I'm going to stop here. So I have 6 unfinished motifs, and now I will be crocheting in this direction, finishing this first row of the motifs. So instead of crocheting 14 chains and starting the next motif, I work 5 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a slip stitch into this same chain 5 space. Next I'm going to make a petal over here, so 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3 trebles, 1, 2, and 3. And then into the last chain of these 6 unworked chains, I make a slip stitch. So here I have one motif completely finished. Now I'm going to finish this one. 5 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a slip stitch. And the same way as I worked the petal over here, I'm going to do it here. 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, then 3 trebles, 1, 2, and 3, and a slip stitch to the last chain over here. And that's how I'm going to continue crocheting, finishing all of these motifs. So here I am at the end of the first row of the motifs, and I finished the last petal by making 4 double crochets and 3 trebles. Now if I want to use this lacy strip as a part of some other crochet project, I can just finish it here. In that case I make 5 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a slip stitch over here, and then I can just fasten off and use it for some kind of other project. However, if I want to continue crocheting these motifs, perhaps if I'm making a tablecloth, then here is how I'm going to proceed to the second row of the motifs. Over here at the end of this last petal, instead of making those 5 chains, I actually make 14 chains to start the next row of the motifs. So 14 chains, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And the same way as I did before, I do a slip stitch into the first chain from the hook. Then I make a slip stitch into each one of the next 2 chains. I turn my work so the motifs go to the right, and I work the first round the same way as I did before. Turn my work so the motifs go to the right. Continue crocheting 1 chain and a single crochet, and then I make a petal. So 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 3 trebles. 1, 2, and 3. Before I continue, I need to join this petal, and it's going to be joined over here where 2 petals of the previous row were joined. So I insert the hook under 2 loops over here, and I pass the loop through like this. Now 5 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a slip stitch into the chain 5 space. Now let's take a look. This is how 3 petals are now joined. I'm going to continue crocheting next petal, so 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3 trebles. 1, 2, and 3. Here is what I have so far. The same way I did before, 14 chains, and then working that same first round. So here I made the first round, and now the same way as before I start working the petals. So first a chain and a single crochet, and into the next chain 5 space 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3 trebles, 1, 2, and 3. Now I need to join again. I need to make sure that the chain is not twisted. So the next joining is going to happen over here where these 3 petals were already connected. So I'm going to connect the 4th petal like that. So I insert the hook and pass the loop through. Then 5 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a slip stitch into this chain 5 space. So here is what it looks like, and that's how 4 petals are now joined together. Next I'm going to work over here on the next petal, which I will join over here. So into the next chain 5 space I work 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3 trebles, 1, 2, and 3. And I'm joining this petal to the space over here where these 2 petals of the previous row were joined. Then 5 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a slip stitch into the chain 5 space. This is what it looks like so far. Now I will continue working on this petal right here. 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3 trebles. 1, 2, and 3. Next I'm gonna start working on the next motif. I will make 14 chains, then a slip stitch into the 4th chain from the hook, forming a ring. Then I will make the first round the same as here and the second round the same as here. So I will join the next motif over here and also over here. And here I added another motif, joining it here and here. And I'm going to continue crocheting this way, finishing 3 more motifs over here. And I'm going to join this petal to the petal over here. So the same way as I joined before, under the 2 loops of the first treble, that's where I insert the hook, and I pull the loop through. Then 5 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a slip stitch over here. Okay, so now all the motifs of this row are joined, and all I need to do is to finish the motifs on the top. So first I'm going to make this petal, and it's 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3 trebles. 1, 2, 3. And because I'm finishing this row of motifs, 5 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a slip stitch over here. And now I will finish crocheting over here the same way, exactly the same way as I did over here in the first row. And if I were to stop here, I would finish this side. You can see that I'm missing 1 petal over here. However, I want to add more rows to my work. So from that point where I made this petal, I will start working the same as I did over here. So I'm gonna add more rows to my work, and then I will show you how to finish this side. I added 2 more rows. I'm going to finish this side right here. 5 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a slip stitch. Then into the next chain 5 space, I make a petal. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 double crochets, and now 3 trebles. 1, 2, 3. And a slip stitch into the last chain over here. So this motif is now finished, and I finished this one the same way. 5 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a slip stitch over here. Then 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 3 trebles. 1, 2, and 3, and a slip stitch over here into the last chain. And that's how I'm going to finish this motif as well. And now on the very last one, or actually this was the very first motif, all I do is 5 chains and a slip stitch. And now I can fasten off, and it's finished.